Welcome back to the In Chamber. I'm your host, Tom Schumann. We opened season 4 of the In Chamber in September with 2 episodes dealing with mental health and addictions. Now, those conversations with national advocate Brian Cuban and local worker Kimberly Lewis were largely stories of recovery and renewal. We're going to close the 2020 portion of this season with a very positive story of how several factors, whether it's competition, structure, success, have helped our guest today. She's a student at Trine University, the winner of the 2018 Miss Indiana pageant, a top 15 finisher in the 2019 Miss America program. Lydia Tremaine, welcome to the In Chamber.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We look forward to the conversation. So, Lydia, you were part of the Miss Indiana program, I believe, for a decade. Give the listeners a little bit of background about that and what attracted you to participate in that.
Correct. It was 10 years. I first got involved as just a little preteen girl back in 2009. And then, of course, gave up the title of Miss Indiana in 2019 when I crowned Miss Indiana 2019. So that was just a full 10 years in the Miss America organization. And it's funny because my mom recalls a time where she really thought one of her daughters would get involved in this program because it was very prevalent in our hometown. I'm from Kendallville, Indiana, population of 10,000, but for some reason, we just have this huge just attraction to the Miss America organization. And we've had 3 Miss Indianas and 5 Miss Indiana's outstanding teens, which is just really rare for a small town.
I was not aware of that history. That is outstanding.
Yeah, they've kind of nicknamed us Crown Town now. So that's our little nickname. We have a little sign as you come into the town that says Crown Town. It's kind of adorable. And she always thought it would be my other sister. Like, I want to make it really clear, like, this trajectory of me being Miss Indiana wasn't something that was really foreseen for me by myself or others. But I just kind of wanted to break the mold because I remember thinking, oh, like, I would never do that. This is something I wouldn't be involved in. But then I met a Miss America who was just completely like relatable and just talked to you like you were the only person in the room, right? And I realized that this could be whoever you wanted to be. You just needed to be a confident version of whatever that was. And I was just so attracted to that. And then she spoke on the scholarship opportunities and the performance opportunities. And I knew I loved to sing and I just wanted an outlet to sing and an outlet to grow in that way. And I needed scholarship because, my family, they supported me, but financially supporting my college goals wasn't something that they were really capable of doing. So that's why I found the Miss America organization, the #1 largest, scholarship provider in the nation for young women. And as I slowly broke down my misconceptions, I fell in love with the program and competed until I won.
So Lydia, how old were you when you had that opportunity to meet a Miss America and hear that message?
Yeah, I was just 12 years old at the time. She was Indiana's only Miss America that we've ever had. And she happened to visit Kendallville, Indiana for a Kendallville Apple Festival. And, you know, it was meeting her that, you know, speaked that interest into my like world. And I just was so excited to hear about such an awesome opportunity that was like in my own hometown. So I started competing right away. Of course, as you guys will hear and kind of understand, it took me a long time to see success in this organization. I was told by a lot of people I wouldn't succeed in this program, and it took me 10 years, but I finally got there.
So Lydia, I've read some of the many things you've written in your blog and stories about you. So you're taking part of these competitions, as you said, finding your way towards success, but you know, at the same time, maybe struggling a little bit with confidence, with other areas of your life. Talk about that mix a little bit. There's a little bit of a contrast that was taking place.
So when you're in any kind of competition, if this is sports or arts competition, theater competition, show choir, or the Miss America organization as a competition, that's a very vulnerable thing that you're doing. You're putting yourself on the line to be judged by others and to be valued by others in this certain thing that you've been practicing. And so that is very vulnerable. And when you're specifically looking at the Miss America organization side of things, we're not just judging your talent. We're judging your speaking abilities, what you'd want to do with your year of service, what you've already done in your life. We're really looking at every aspect of who you are and asking you why you should serve your community, state, or your nation. And that's really heavy, right? So again, that vulnerability makes you take a look at yourself. And it's really hard not to fall into the negative habits of comparison and the negative habits of telling yourself you're not good enough. So naturally, when you're in those competitions, you're going to be asking those things and, kind of taking a hard look at your confidence. But that can be a good or bad thing depending on just kind of your view on it.
So Lydia, were you kind of battling this yourself, as I say, as you're competing and people are seeing the presence that you would have and things like that? Were they aware of some of the other challenges you had in your life, or again, were you kind of going this alone a little bit?
Well, there's different divisions in the Miss America organization. And I think specifically the time I struggled with confidence the most was when I transitioned into the Miss division. And why I struggled with this transition is because of the swimsuit competition that was there when I was first competing. And when I was first competing, I was just an 18-year-old. So to be judged on my, physical appearance, just to be completely blunt, because it's a swimsuit competition. That's just what happens. But I'm being told that the job is about service. I'm being told that the reward is scholarship. It was really kind of hard to understand why that was being judged and why that was being my value and how it was being held. And I really struggled with that. And I didn't openly talk about it really until I won Miss Indiana. So no, people didn't know I was struggling with the swimsuit competition until I won in a one piece. They got rid of the swimsuit competition a week after I won Miss Indiana. And I was the first one to compete at Miss America without a swimsuit. So that was just such a beautiful aspect in my journey that the timing was so meant to be for me personally, because I despised swimsuits. So I was thankful to have all the potatoes in the world before Miss America.
That's probably a bit of a misperception that's out there among the public about what the organization and the competition is all about. You've certainly touched upon on it with service and the different areas, but I bet that's something you've had to kind of repeat over and over.
Oh, absolutely. And another huge misconception, just not only about the competition itself, that's such a heavy part of it, but there's a misconception about what the job is. Once you're a state title holder, so the job of Miss Indiana, I actually had to take an entire year off of school, an entire year off of work. That was my full-time job. And I traveled 40,000 miles across the state of Indiana, going to schools, going to fundraisers, going to events, speaking on why arts matter, why mental health matters, and why the Miss America organization is relevant, and just kind of breaking down those misconceptions every day. And it's crazy how many people think it's like Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock, but it's nothing
Right.
like that,
Yeah.
really.
But so talk about that in that year. We'd love to hear some of the experiences, some of the highlights for you. But an initial question, as you said, going around talking, in your case, you said talking about mental health. Is it a combination of what you talk about as a result of representing Indiana and what you want to focus on? Is there a
Yeah.
little bit of both?
Yeah, well, what's great about the Miss America organization, both at the state and national level, is you have to have a personal platform. And mine was advocating for arts to be funded in schools in our communities, because the arts completely saved my life. I was a kid who really struggled with social anxiety and depression, and the arts really helped me find my place in the community and helped me develop the confidence that led me to the Miss America program and Miss America stages. And so, of course, that's what I advocated for during my year of service. And I've always believed that mental health and music go hand in hand, because music has such a healing ability. So I just kind of advocated for that as I advocated for music, because I just think that those conversations resonate with one another. And I loved traveling the state. It was just a blast.
So what were one or two really cool things that you did during that year, from your list of many, I'm sure?
Oh, yes. List of many. One that really always comes to my mind was singing with the Indianapolis Children's Choir. First of all, there was second graders that were harmonizing better than I can now in that choir. So it was just amazing to be singing with them as Miss Indiana. And that was just one of those moments that I'll never forget. And then those school visits at the end of the day changed my life. They changed the trajectory of what I was even going to go to school for. I was originally going to go for music education. And funny enough, it was going to schools that made me realize mental health is such a epidemic almost. I mean, it's not, because it's not like actually you can't catch it, but like it's crazy like how much these kids are struggling, how many hearts and like souls I saw that were like broken but resilient. And I changed my major to psychology when I got to Trine, because I wanted to understand this more, and I wanted to help people understand their mental health more, because I see how much our kids were struggling. And so those school visits really had an impact on me, just on a human level.
I mean, Lydia, you talk about, obviously there's much attention to the importance of mental health in 2020 as we go through this pandemic, but you're talking a couple of years ago, and it is an important topic. And again, I sense there probably are a lot of young people, maybe similar to you, maybe different, who are suffering and need that support. So what a great platform, what a great way to help out during those school visits.
Yeah.
One more question on the singing then. So you go to Miss America and you sang Frank Sinatra's My Life to finish in first place in the Miss America talent competition. So is there a special meaning to that song? And what was that like?
Yeah, that song is probably like my favorite song of all time now. I actually have it tattooed on my hand, fun fact. And the reason I love that song is because, like I mentioned earlier, the swimsuit competition, it wasn't comfortable for me. There was a lot of people who didn't think I would do well. And because it took me so long to even make it to Miss Indiana, let alone do well, I just really didn't believe in myself for a little bit there. And I let other people tell me I was too fat to be Miss Indiana, that I was, too big or too liberal or too myself, essentially, right? Because people have this idea that you have to be their idea of what Miss Indiana should be. And when I finally let go of that idea, it really made me think of this song, because this song says, each time you find yourself flat on your face, you pick yourself up and get back in the race. And it talks all about how people tell you you're not good enough or you're not this enough. And so just those lyrics resonated with me, and to be able to take that song to the national level and tell my story and share that story with the audience and then win a actual award for it, that was pretty nuts.
So that was much more than a song then.
Oh, absolutely. It's a story. I believe music is always much more than a song if you allow it to be. And when I went to Miss America, I didn't want to just sing anything. I wanted to sing something where I could tell a story, for sure.
So one more question about that year on the road, that being your full-time job. How did that impact your confidence? You talked about how it certainly influenced the career path you want to take, but what were some of the results of that and how that helped you in so many ways?
I really am so thankful for all of the connections that the job really gave me across the state of Indiana. I feel like I made so many friends across the state and have just learned how to, do random things at the drop of a hat, like having to give a keynote speech with 20 minutes notice. That's happened to me once. So you just have to be prepared all the time, right? And I feel like I used to be so scared to articulate who I was and be proud of who I was. But when you have to put yourself on the line every day like that, you really learn to build up that resilience to be able to just confidently be you. I'd say those sometimes, though, the connections get me in trouble, because I now still want to have the life of Miss Indiana and do all these things. And I say yes to so much. So I get a little overwhelmed sometimes, because I'm still a college student working full time. But the connections at the end of the day are great.
Well, we appreciate you taking the 30 minutes or so to talk to us about this, because we think it's so valuable for people to hear your story and others. You wrote, I read your blog, you wrote about some of your takeaways, from the whole experience. And you talked about both self-worth, increasing your self-worth, and also humility that it brings. So again, a little bit of a contrast there. If you would expand a little on those, how those came into play as part of your experience.
Yeah. So when you're put in any kind of position where others are looking up to you, there's a couple things that happen simultaneously. And a lot of people get uncomfortable to talk about this openly, but I just think this is a really important thing to touch on. So first and foremost, like I said, you're going to have haters when you're in a spotlight, right? You're going to have people who say mean things to you. And you have to be able to have the self-worth to know, I am totally capable of doing this job. I am prepared to do this job because I know that I've put in the work and prepared for this work. And that's self-worth, having the confidence to know you can do it and follow through. Now, at the same time, when you're put in the spotlight, you have a lot of people who are extremely excited for you, supportive of you. And so you're going to have a lot of love too. And it's so important to remember, like, not to take this position for granted, because it's so easy to get comfortable with something. And so there was days that I woke up and I was just like, I don't really want to do anything today. But then I had to remember that there was 35 other women who wanted the opportunity to be Miss Indiana, and that there is someone that I could impact today with my story. And you have to remember that there are a million people who would love to be in your position. And so keeping that humility and remembering your why at the end of the day, I think, is really important anytime you're in a position like that.
Yeah. So Lydia, you complete your year on the road, your job, going throughout Indiana, and you transition to Trine, as you said, the scholarship opportunities allowing you to have that opportunity at Trine. Well, talk about that transition, going from on the road to in the classroom, and sort of like every other college student.
Yeah, I love Trine University so much, and it's so cool that it just happens to be close to where I'm from initially. So I already have a ton of connection to the community, and so that's a plus. And fun fact, Trine actually hosted like the pageant that was like my first Miss pageant 5 years ago. So that's just kind of a crazy thing that came full circle. And when I won Miss Indiana, fun fact, Trine gives every Miss Indiana a full ride to Trine University, which is, of course, like, when I found out I had this full ride to this private accredited university, I was like, yes, sign me up. I'm there. I'll see you next fall. And so I was just so excited. And being in the classroom has been, it's obviously been more of a challenge, other than the fact that I've transitioned from Miss Indiana, because now COVID has happened. And the initial transition was really great, really healthy. I was feeling great about it. But COVID really threw me for a loop, as I think it did every other college student. I'm so really thrives in the classroom. I'm someone who thrives off of other people and being in a community. So kind of losing that this year has been difficult. But I think being Miss Indiana kind of prepared me to be flexible with every situation that comes my way. So it's been good.
Well, yeah, when you get those notices that in 20 minutes you're given a keynote, that makes it a little easier to adapt to things in the classroom and on campus. So absolutely. Lydia, as you get a little bit farther away from your Miss Indiana experience of wrapping up a couple years ago, are there some other things about that you appreciate today, maybe a little bit more than you did as you were going through the process?
Oh man, so much of it, because we don't realize, that we're in like the good old days until we've left them. That's a quote that I love from The Office. And one thing that I realized that I took for granted was that I was meeting new people every day. And like, I knew that at the time, but you don't realize how much of an impact that has on you. Like, I was absorbing new cultures every day. I was hearing new stories every day and having that kind of connection every day. And now we're in the middle of a global pandemic. So it's like a complete 180. So now more than ever, I miss having that opportunity to meet Hoosiers of all different backgrounds. That's just such a cool thing. And so always the people at the end of the day are just my fave, and I miss that the most.
So you mentioned before we started recording today that you're on the board of the Professional Theater in Fort Wayne. Talk about that. You're up. I know you've had some opportunities to perform. Talk about why that's so enjoyable for you, why you're passionate in that area.
Yeah, so I've already articulated that I love the arts and I love performing and singing. And so when I was transitioning from the year as Miss Indiana to college, I knew that I had to get involved with the theater, because theater is just, I think, one of the most beautiful art forms. So like, I love Sinatra and musical theater. I've kind of like always said that those are my two favorite. And I found Three Rivers Music Theater, which, like you mentioned, is our professional theater here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We provide a really awesome art for the Fort Wayne community. And we like to say that it's art for artists. So we really like to do cutting edge things with a lot of like social issues that are really just bringing important issues to the community, like LGBTQ conversations. And it's just been awesome to be on a board of directors that takes these conversations and aren't so seriously, and being able to perform for the Fort Wayne community on a professional level.
Lydia, two questions that I think you are highly qualified to answer, and which will help people listening, and I think people of any age. One is about balancing your time, because you're going to school, you're working, you're performing currently, as obviously as well as balancing your time when you were involved in Miss Indiana. How do you do it? How do you put all those pieces together?
I think I'm still figuring that out day by day. However, some things that have helped me, I believe in planners 100%. I just need to keep like being better at updating those things. And then at the end of the day, like you need to make sure that you're investing into yourself. And this is where I need to get better too, because as someone who's always doing and always trying to grow and always on the go, I forget to just take a second and make sure that I'm still inspiring myself. And so what I mean by that is it's really important, to invest in others and then to invest your time into everything you're passionate about, but take time for you to just listen to a podcast, read a book, listen to songs that motivate you. And then, take the time to like, then go in your planner, and then you're going to maybe feel like less resentful or less anxious about all those things that you have to do if you just give yourself a little bit of you time.
All right, question number two along those lines then is, any guidance, words of advice you have for people that might have gone through similar experiences as you, maybe where things were very good on the outside, but they were potentially struggling on the inside, things that you advise people in that area?
A quote actually really comes to mind, and I'll expand upon it. But if you don't believe in yourself, how is anyone else going to believe in you, right? So if you are facing doubt, or you are believing the other, people's doubt that they're planting in your mind, or believing the lies that they've told you that you're not good enough. And if you are blatantly believing that and living like that is true, that you aren't good enough, then other people, of course, are going to then feel like you aren't either, because you're not valuing yourself. So if you want to get past what, other people are saying to bring you down, or get past your own insecurities, you have to start believing that you are enough. You have to start working every day, do something little. If your goal is to be healthier, drink a little bit more water today. If your goal is to be Miss Indiana, practice speaking in front of a mirror today. Just do something little every day that makes you feel a little bit more confident, and a little bit more like you're one step closer to that goal, and that you are confident and enough, and that other people can believe that too.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think a lot of people do get weighed down they look at the end goal and try to skip all the steps in between, go from the beginning to, I can't get there, I can't get to that end. It's such a lofty area, but as you say, one step at a time, one area at a time is so important. Lydia, what do you see yourself doing in 5 to 10 years? We all get that question. Where are we going? Where are we headed? How about you? I know it's difficult, especially with what we're going through now. But what are some of your goals going forward?
Yeah. So once I graduate with my bachelor's in psychology and my minor in theater, I want to move to Chicago, actually. So not super far away. And my goal with that is to go to a master's program. I haven't decided exactly what I want to pursue with my master's degree within psychology. But then also, obviously, Chicago has a thriving arts community, and that's really exciting. So I hope to take advantage while I'm in my school for master's. I can also, perform, and hopefully perform professionally, because they have a lot of professional theater. So I hope to, both like do things educationally and do things with my performing career. I've kind of decided not to put myself in a box of just pursuing one or the other, but instead simultaneously be just crazy enough to pursue both, because why not?
Why not? Lydia, it's okay if we're going to let you go to Chicago for a little bit, but we want you to come back at some point, and whether it's career or performing, and also do all those in Indiana too.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's great to go out and get those experiences elsewhere.
Yes, for sure. Once a Hoosier, always a Hoosier also.
Excellent. Well, my final question then, Lydia, as we've asked everybody on the podcast this season, is when you complete one of your very, very busy days and you get to the end of the day, what has made it a great day for Lydia Tremaine? What makes you satisfied and confident that it's been a great day?
Kind of what I said earlier, I have a lot of goals. Obviously, they're no longer pageant affiliated goals, but as long as I did at least one thing to better myself every day that like puts me one step closer to my goals of who I want to be or the goals that I want to accomplish, that's a good day for sure.
That is a common theme. We've heard that from several of our guests this year, and obviously a good guidance, good advice. Lydia, thanks so much for joining us, for sharing your story, and for all the great work that you're doing, even to today in school and in performing. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, it's been our pleasure. We're sure you've enjoyed our conversation with Lydia Tremaine and several takeaways from what she had to say. As mentioned, this is our final episode of the 2020 calendar year. I noted this in our last episode. I'll say it again today. 2020 has certainly been a trying year. Trying, not a trying year, but a trying year, no pun intended. But two couple things to remember again, where we are going to be stronger as a result of this, and we are going to be better together. A couple of themes that resonated from our recent annual awards program and video, and just encourage everyone to remember those. Happy holidays to everyone. Look for us back January 12th with a release of our next new episode. Thanks as always for listening to The In Chamber.